We're following breaking news. The sentencing of Sean Diddy Combs is underway at this hour. In July, he was found guilty on 2 prostitution charges, but was found not guilty of racketeering and sex trafficking, which would have carried larger sentences.
Prosecutors are asking the judge to sentence Combs to at least 11 years in prison. Combs's attorneys are requesting 14 months, essentially time served. Federal sentencing guidelines suggest somewhere between 5 to 7 years. Chopper 2 was over the courthouse this morning. You can see the large crowds of people anxiously awaiting that decision. And that is where we find Bauman outside federal court in Lower Manhattan with the latest.
Sean Diddy Combs entered the courtroom here in Lower Manhattan shortly after 10 a.m. for his sentencing hearing. He is facing 20 years in prison after being found guilty on 2 prostitution-related charges over the summer. Prosecutors are asking for the judge to hand down an 11-year sentence, and during this hearing today, they spoke about how they feel Combs is downplaying the violence that he inflicted on others, not fully taking responsibility for the actions that he inflicted onto others. They submitted several victim impact statements outlining ways in which his alleged victims have been traumatized, say that they are forever changed as a result. Star witness and former ex-girlfriend of Combs also submitted a letter saying that if he is released, she fears that there will be retribution for her testifying in court. In the meantime, the defense is asking for 14 months, which, if you include the 13 months he already spent in prison since last year, would get him out by the end of this year. One of his attorneys speaking at the hearing got choked up talking about how, as a businessman, he has been an inspiration throughout his career. 6 of Combs's children also spoke at this hearing, many of them crying as well as Combs watched them, and Combs put his head in his hands at certain points. They talked about how their dad is a superhero and asked that the judge release him so that he can go back to being their father. Now, Combs himself is also expected to speak. He did submit a letter to the judge late Thursday talking about the ways in which he has changed while in prison, talking about getting sober in prison, as well as teaching a class to his inmates on entrepreneurship and business management. He also apologized for laying hands on his ex-girlfriend, Cassie Ventura, as well as any pain that he has caused others. More speakers are expected in this afternoon. Ultimately, the decision on sentencing rests with the judge. From Lower Manhattan, Bauman, CBS News, New York.
And let's bring in legal expert Richard Schoenstein. Can you walk us through what's happening in court right now? How long could this take?
Well, it could take long. I mean, this is different than an ordinary sentencing hearing, which is usually a couple of hours. This is obviously more involved. You have a very affluent defendant. And so you have a series of different witnesses they want to bring in, both sides, statements they want to read, or witnesses they want to testify, arguments they want to make to the judge. And then apparently Sean Combs himself is going to speak to the judge. So all of that has to happen before we get a decision on what the sentence is going to be.
Can we talk about this video that we just saw clips of in Allie's piece? First of all, I've never seen anything like it in any trial I've covered. It was basically a mini documentary edited to show his life as a father and a community activist. What impact, if any, do you think that would have on the judge's decision?
So I've been thinking a lot about this video, and I want to submit to you that that video is not intended for the judge. Remember, he submitted a letter that I thought was okay, and a video which is terrible from the judge. The judge would not like that video at all. I believe the letter was for the judge, but the video is for the public, right? He has a whole PR angle to this prosecution. He has to go out to hit people, his fans, and the public at large, and that's who that video is intended for, because that judge is not going to like that video.
What factors does the judge have to weigh when deciding between the request from the defense and the prosecution? And do you think the sentencing could end up somewhere in the middle here?
So the most important factors when you're looking at sentencing are protecting the public from the risk of further crime and punishing the person adequately for the crimes that have been committed. And the sentencing guidelines that came in the pre-sentencing report say this ought to fall between 70 and 87 months. And I do think that's where the judge is going to land. Maybe a little higher. I'd be real surprised for a very low sentence. I know Sean Combs is saying he's remorseful. I know he's saying he regrets his actions. He's working towards his rehabilitation. But there are a lot of very serious acts baked into and underneath these crimes. And the judge has kind of reacted already starkly to some of that.
All right, Richard Schoenstein, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Outside the courthouse this morning, crowds of people, some supporting Combs, others hoping he faces a lengthy sentence. Among the crowd, podcasters and TikTokers ready to post or live stream their take on the sentencing.
If I was the judge, he would get a bang, bang, 10, 10, 20 years, 20 years. Because if this was not federal and this was state, which they should have done and not went for RICO, this man would have never saw light of day again.
Worst case scenario, I think he might get 36 months, maybe get time served. I'm thinking they should let him go on time served because he's been in there for a year.
People started lining up in front of the courthouse as early as yesterday.
Our Alice Gaynor is inside monitoring the proceedings. As soon as a sentence is handed down, we will bring you a live special report on air, online, and on our CBS News app.